as you spread your fingers on the mat, you want the tops of the fingers and the base of the fingers to really be pressing so the knuckles can be lifting. It's like you're clawing the mat and actually getting a lift to the knuckles. It really works because that then helps you in the carpal tunnel area. Maybe you can see it when you claw the air here. You can see there's a little tunnel forming right at the base of the wrist, and we want that, right? Now, when you extend your hand like a downward dog or all fours position, I usually refer to the outer shoulder. The outer shoulder is this area right here to the middle of the wrist. And the wrist creases, just imagine you're in all fours. The wrist creases are then parallel. Those creases are parallel to the front of the mat. So the middle of the wrist creases to the outer shoulder. Let's do that. Let's come to all fours position and just practice the foundation of our hands. Once you get this, I was thinking about a practice I used to do every single day: a 3-minute downward facing dog, a pause in child's pose, a 2-minute downward facing dog, a pause in child's pose, and a 1-minute downward facing dog. And I would start every practice this way. Why? Just to get that foundation established. And 3 minutes may not sound like much time, but when you start your practice in a 3-minute downward dog, you start to realize what is off in your foundation. Like you have to hold it there. If you're dumping all your weight into your hands, your wrists are not going to be happy with this. So come to all fours position. And as you come to all fours position, the spread of the hands, the claw of the fingertip tops, the base of the fingers are pressing down. So you see your knuckles lifting up. Now, it's a little hard. If you were looking at yourself, you'd be able to this out a little bit easier than from this position. But know where your outer shoulder is and see if you could kind of run an imaginary line to the middle of your wrist. From there, look at your wrist creases and see that they're parallel to the front edge of the mat. Now, today we're working on the earth element. The earth element is represented by the baby fingers. When you get a good foundation, like you can even feel how your baby fingers are really working. So the more you can press into the tip top of the baby finger and the base of the baby finger, notice how that eases the wrist quite a bit. So keep that and just draw back with your toes tucked under. Draw back toward a child's pose. Now, as you take more weight back to your feet, so it feels like your hands are not such a foundation anymore. You start to feel like your feet want to drift, your heels want to drift away from each other. So keep them hugging into the midline and keep your hands hugging into the midline. And actually do the opposite now. Just as if you're trying to draw your hands away from each other. See how that feels. Now do the opposite. Hug the hands in toward each other. And notice how, like a completely different set of muscles, help you keep a nice firm foundation in the hands. And inhale, rise up. Swing your feet now over to your right side and look at your feet. So as the feet are to the right side, you're moving your ribs to the left, you're moving your gaze over your right shoulder, and your hands still stay very stable. Come back to the center, swing your feet to the opposite side, look over your left shoulder. Find your feet, move your right ribs really wide to the right, and come back to center. Once again, child's pose with your toes tucked under this time. Just draw your inner heels toward one another. Keep the hands nice and active. Keep the shoulder blades lifting. Just draw back really nicely. And inhale, lift yourself up to all fours position. Reach your right leg straight back. And again, as you now take the weight off the right knee to lifted right foot, just notice what's happening in the hands. Like, see if you can now take your left hand off the floor to reach your left arm forward. Spread your left fingers, spread your right toes. Bend your left elbow. Draw your left elbow to your right knee. Just draw in. Reach your left arm out and spread your left fingers. Spread your right toes. Again, hug in to get the back body really full and reach out. And release your hands down. Just to give your hands a rest for a moment, place your forearms down. We'll go to the other side in just a minute. Interlace your fingers and press the baby finger side of the interlaced fingers down to the mat so that you can get just a little bit more of that earth quality into this. See about extending the baby finger straight so your interlaced fingers have the baby finger straight, and the outside of the baby fingers you're really pressing into the mat. So press the baby fingers, draw your elbows slightly closer toward each other. Inhale, lift yourself up. Now, see if you can get the full length of the baby's finger to work to press down nicely. Walk your feet in. Inhale, lift your right leg up. Exhale, take your right leg down. Inhale, take your left leg up. Exhale, take your left foot down. Walk your feet back to come to a plank position. Take your knees down. Take your heart down. Take your hands alongside your ribs. With your hands alongside your ribs, press your toenails down. Hug your elbows into the midline with a strong foundation in the hands. Pull the hands back as you reach your heart forward to come up to cobra. Exhale, slowly come down. Even in this position, fingertip tops, base of each finger are drawing down, and you're clawing the mat on this one. So you're not dumping all your weight into the wrist area. Inhale, rise up. Exhale and soften. And one more. Inhale, lift yourself up. And exhale, soften. Tuck your toes under. Inhale, come up to all fours position. In all fours position, take your left leg out and lift your left foot in the air. You're clawing the mat with your hands. Your left arm stays very strong. Your right arm becomes free as you reach your right arm forward. Keep your back leg strong. Keep your fingers of the right hand very engaged and spread. Now hug in. Bend your left knee, bend your right arm, draw in and extend out. Draw in, expand fully, and draw in and expand out. And slowly release your hand down again to take the weight off the hands into the forearms again. Interlace your fingers except for the baby finger. Where the baby finger is straight, So you're pressing the full edge of the outside of the arm from the baby fingertips all the way to the elbows. Narrow your elbows slightly, tuck your toes under, and lift your knees up off the floor. Just pause here. Walk your feet in slightly. Look forward toward your interlaced fingers. Lift your right leg up to the sky. Release your right foot down. Take your left leg up to the sky and down. Walk your feet back. Come to a plank position. Lower your knees down. Lower the tops of the thighs down. Take your hands alongside your ribs. With your hands alongside your ribs, hug your elbows in. Inhale, reach your heart forward. Exhale and soften. With your hands alongside your ribs, it's a little bit more complicated to claw the mat. So see if you can get your hands to claw the mat. Pardon me. Especially the earth finger, the baby fingers. Inhale, draw your heart forward. Exhale and soften. And one more. Inhale, rise up. And exhale and soften. Lift yourself up to all fours position and just pause here. You can pause in a child's pose or a puppy dog or a downward facing dog. And as you pause, just bring that awareness inside, that remembrance. Be your future self, my teacher said. Be that person when you're in the state of ease. When you remember who you are. When you remember what it is you're here for. And on your next in-breath, come back to all fours position. Place your hands a giant step forward. Look again at the spread of the fingers, how the fingertip tops are pressing, how the base of the fingers are pressing. So you're making a big claw on the mat. The outer shoulder to the middle of the wrist is your alignment. As you tuck your toes under, lift yourself up to downward facing dog. So once you get this foundation of the hands, you can do so many things in yoga. Handstands and side planks and all sorts of things. But it's when we pour all the weight into the wrists and the base of the hand that it's really challenging. So in your downward facing dog, keep that strong and steady foundation as if it is the foundation of your very being. Inhale, lift your right leg up, bend your right knee, open up really nicely. Come back to place both feet on the floor. Now, notice with both feet on the floor, with the feet hip distance apart, if you lift your heels up, how that changes the foundation of the hands. Can you feel it? Now do the opposite. Take the heels back and notice what's happening. For many, by lifting your heels high, that allows you to get a much better foundation in your hands, right? It feels like you might start that kind of dumping quality as you draw your heels down, but you be the judge. Take your left leg up, Lift your left foot high, bend your left knee, open up nicely. And slowly release your foot down. Walk your feet up to your hands. Place your hands to your low back and rise up. Make a fist with your hands. So we've used the hands quite a bit. So with the fist, draw the fists in toward each other. Draw your elbows nice and wide, so these Popeye arms. Keep your fists drawing toward your head as you straighten your arms. Just reach out. Fists are still drawing toward the head. You're just working the back side of the arms really nicely. Bend your elbows again, hug in, and release. Just shake it out. We'll do that one more cycle here. Just in case your wrists are just feeling a little bit too much work, that we've done too much work. So make a tight fist with your hands. Lift your elbows up so they're about shoulder height. Draw your fists in toward each other as much as possible. I notice that when I do that, my elbows want to go wide. So keep your elbows forward. Now draw your elbows nice and wide. The fists are drawing in. You're making these nice biceps here. Now from there, reach your arms out, but keep your fists drawing in. Good. For those of us that are on keyboards all day, this really helps a lot too. From here, bend your elbows again. Draw your elbows in toward each other and release your hands and just kind of work a nice ease in the wrists.